This is Andy Atkins.
This is Brianna Ray.
This is Wade Collier.
This is Alexis Kinder.
This is Melissa Poston.
And welcome to Brave Talk. Today on Brave Talk, we're going to be talking about the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. In 1929, Valentine's Day took a brutal turn. Al Capone's gang, named the 5 Points Gang, brutally murdered the Irish Northsiders. Chicago was also thriving with crime. Gangs wanted total control over bootlegging, especially the Irish Northsiders and the 5 Points Gang. Okay. Al Capone, he was the leader of the 5 Points Gang, and he was born in Brooklyn, New York on January 17th of 1899. He lived a normal childhood, so nobody really knows why he's kind of like psycho now, but he lived a normal childhood. He had both of his parents in his life. He went to elementary school and middle school, but he dropped out at 14 years old, which, 14 years old.
14?
That's very young.
I was still playing with Legos.
Teenager.
Yeah.
I was like, you don't even know what
I was still watching
point is.
like
at
the
that
Bees
point.
and the
PBS
Birds.
Kids at 14. Well, no, I wasn't, but like.
Okay. But Bugs Moran, his childhood lasted way longer than Capone. He was born in Minnesota on August 21st of 1883, so he's a little bit older. He also lived a normal childhood, normal parents, everything. They both had immigrant parents, which was kind of shocking. But
I didn't know that.
yeah, I read that online. He went to elementary, middle school, and most of high school in Minnesota. And he joined a gang in high school, too.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
That's not a shocker.
He joined
at
a
all.
high school gang, and he got arrested 3 times before the age of 21. And one of them was a robbery in a warehouse involving the death of a police officer. But both Bugs and Capone's gangs, when they moved to Chicago, Illinois, they grew largely because crime in the Prohibition era and the Great Depression era was organized crime, and everybody wanted a piece of it. So
Yeah, they both wanted control over bootlegging because bootlegging is the sale of alcohol, of course, and it's like prohibition. Everybody wants a piece. They all want their happy.
they want
juice.
their money. It really just came down to Bugs Moran and Capone. Those were the two rivalries, but it all came down on Valentine's Day of 1929. 7 men were reported dead, and who it happened to be? The 7 members of Bugs' gang. The 7 murdered were Adam Ayer, Frank Gusenberg, Pete Gusenberg, which I don't know if they're brothers or something like that.
I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'm assuming too. John May, Al Weinshank, and James Clark, as well as a visitor, Dr. Reinhard H. Schwimmer. They were murdered with 2 machine guns and 2 shotguns, and Capone had a really good alibi, for the 1929.
Oh yeah, so
Yeah.
I was in Chicago.
Yeah, he didn't say he was in
Another
Chicago.
murder.
He was in Florida for a court
Florida.
case. Just so happened to be another murder case.
Of course,
He could have hired a hitman. That's what.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was later proven. Well, people think it was later proven that he did hire a hitman because Fred Burke, he had shot a police officer in Michigan later that year. The bullets used with his gun matched the exact same bullets as the one used in the machine gun from the massacre in 2122 North Clark Street on February 14th, 1929.
That is definitely not a coincidence.
No.
Oh no.
Fred only got arrested for the murder of the police officer, and the weapons and bullets used went unquestioned by any authority of law, which doesn't surprise me.
I mean, they were probably like being paid. to,
Yeah.
like, keep quiet.
I would say. I mean, if you're in a gang, you have your resources.
Don't arrest me.
It actually is proven that Capone was paying $5,000 a week to the Chicago.
Yep, there it is.
Wow.
The
Yep.
Chicago police investigation. So, another man who drove the Cadillac to the garage and unloaded the hitman, Brian Bolton, he confessed to the crime. He admitted that he dropped them off, and he admitted that he also went to Wisconsin to meet Capone and talk about the plan of the massacre. He also gave 5 names, one of them being Fred Burke, the man who killed the guy in Michigan later that year. Another one that he admitted was a gang named the American Boys. They were suspected to be hired by Capone in the first place, but the FBI didn't share any of that information, of course. Okay. They figured that every one of the hitmen was either dead, missing, or arrested for another crime at that point, so I think that also leads up to the point where like they were getting paid off. So what's the point? Like we're just gonna say
why not
dead.
just like sweep it under the rug? Don't even.
Try.
Yeah.
There were 500 unsolved cases similar to this one, and
That's
the whole system was corrupt, so they didn't really care anymore. I don't know if I would either.
I mean, they got away with so much stuff back then. Like now you would get caught in a heartbeat,
like
but now it's just
stuff like that.
blood.
Yeah, Capone was frequently arrested, but like he wasn't held for more than like 24 hours.
Oh,
that's
wow.
ridiculous. That's not.
Probably got paid off, but no one was convicted and still isn't. There probably will never be with how like gangs have disappeared.
Yeah,
they're still roaming around a little bit quietly, but.
Also, considering it's the Great Depression, it would probably be very easy to be paid off.
Yeah, probably.
You're like kind of like
nobody has money
for anything.
Like my family, stuff like that. It's
Yeah, they need their family to live. But after that, Bugs like he only went to like small bank robberies. He didn't
kind of like
getting old.
Kept quiet, shut up.
Yeah, and he wasn't even in the parking garage when any of this happened. He ran away into a coffee shop.
Oh,
actually. Which is what I read. And Capone obviously was not arrested after the massacre.
Then later, 1929, he was sentenced to serve 8 months at Eastern Penitentiary in Pennsylvania for carrying a concealed weapon, which is the smallest of any of the crimes he's done.
That is the smallest charge he could have had.
And surprise, surprise, he manipulated guards to live a luxury life in the jail cell.
Not the first time he's done that.
Yeah, it was like rugs, like fancy
anything
like,
that he wanted, he got.
Yeah, he was like
warm towels.
Yeah. So might as well like get someone to rub his.
How his
in there.
what was it? How the others were killed? Wasn't it from the other gang?
I
think. They were killed execution style.
Yeah, like they were lined up. And
they were lined up and
shot. They were like face the wall.
Yeah. We can edit this out, guys. That's
fine. Oh, there is a legend, and we're going to circle back with that.
Yeah, Al Capone was supposedly haunted by James Clark, one of the victims in the massacre, and it says that Capone could be heard at night yelling at James to leave him alone. And
oh my god!
Yeah. So he was very like. He was haunted, basically.
I feel like it was just guilt. I mean, he was haunted by guilt because he did kill someone.
Huh?
Did he have schizophrenia?
He had dementia.
Oh, dementia?
He had dementia, yeah.
Okay.
But like people are like, oh, but it was prison. But he lived a luxury life in that place.
Yeah, like, it couldn't have been worse than a gang.
No. Like, it couldn't have been worse than everything he sent everyone else to do.
Yeah.
But,
what was I going to say? Oh, after President Herbert Hoover, he had literally no relation to Capone whatsoever. But one day he was like, let's check Capone's finances. So he had the Treasury Department investigate it. And he only wanted to just end Capone. Like, that was all. He just hated him. And in 1931, Capone was arrested for tax evasion and spent 4.5 years in there. That's the one thing he gets arrested for. Not murder, tax evasion.
Yeah. No. So he was sent to Alcatraz. They sent him to Alcatraz for tax evasion.
I don't know much about Alcatraz.
I don't either.
It's this huge place in this island that's supposed to be like impossible to get out of. Like it's like escape proof supposedly, but two people escaped then and they got a raft and stuff like that and they died in the ocean.
They died in the ocean?
They died.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so they didn't escape. Or they went quote unquote missing, but they're pretty much dead.
I mean, there were several attempts, I bet, of trying to escape. Like, who would want to try?
But it was basically like a file, and they like filed through the wall.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But
can you tour Alcatraz?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The tour guards. Wasn't there something about the?
Yeah. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
I think it's haunted. I've heard it's haunted. I was in history class and they said that Alcatraz was haunted.
Yeah, but Capone played the banjo.
What a great job!
Out of all instruments, a banjo.
He was in the inmate band, and he often practiced in the shower room in his cell.
Nope. Out of all places, the shower room?
It was empty, so
I mean,
he got that
those
practice
tunes in, yeah.
Eventually, his health started declining. Oh no, so sad. But
Yeah.
And the syphilis he contracted when he was around the age of 20.
What is syphilis?
I think it's a sex transmitted disease. I think he got it from a prostitute.
That's why Bugs hated him so much. I forgot to mention that Bugs hated him because of his interests, I guess, in crime. Like some of the crimes he did, he just, obviously didn't like it.
It's like an anti-hero type thing.
Yeah, but I did not know.
Wasn't there who's Scarface? I was reading about that.
Scarface is Capone.
El Capone,
so
yeah.
Scarface is Capone.
Yeah.
Okay.
We should have cleared that. Bugs, his real name is like, what is it? Adelard Cunnin, I think.
Yep.
And then
it has nothing to do with his gang name. It's
why do you think he chose the name Bugs?
I feel like,
it was like
maybe because he was crazy or like he did stuff out of pocket.
That's it was actually made up.
Made up?
I was like, maybe Bugs Bunny or something like that.
No, it was just made up by people that thought he was crazy.
All right.
He was bugging.
Oh, he was
that
buggy.
Makes sense.
Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm. Bugs Bunny.
But the syphilis he contracted around the age of 20 started taking over his brain.
Oh my god!
Wow.
And he showed, there was problems with that, and he showed signs of dementia. He spent a large part of his time in Alcatraz in the hospital wing. And then eventually, they sent him to a correctional facility, which is ironically called Terminal Island. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. What a coincidence. There's a lot of coincidences in this story.
Then he was released in 1939 to live out his final days.
I wouldn't even give him his final days.
I wouldn't even give him his final days.
Yeah.
He got away with all of the murder and blood and those are people's families that he hurt.
Yeah.
And
it was mostly gang-on-gang violence, though.
Which Bugs did have a son, but he was an only child.
He did?
Yeah, he did. He had one son.
How do you think he turned out?
I feel like probably bad because he was a really bad example for his kid. I mean,
Oh, his kid left him.
I would too.
You got a man.
His kid did leave him. Yeah.
Yep.
He thought he was crazy, so he left him. And then, I don't know if, after he started going to, the small bank robberies, if he just eventually stopped doing everything, organized crime in total, or what. I don't know what happened. I mean, he kind of just, went unnoticed and unfazed, I guess.
But, Al Capone, he had a stroke and was incapacitated until his death. And doctors in Alcatraz, when they checked him out, they said he had a mental age of a 14-year-old.
Oh my god!
Because of how bad it was.
Well, he did. It said 14. We were talking about how crazy the age 14 was.
I mean, but the dementia, and the
just
syphilis,
declining until you get to that certain.
It got to him.
Yep. Not with his age at all.
And we were talking about how Alcatraz was haunted. Tour guides, when they went into Alcatraz, they said they could hear a banjo in the shower room and from his cell.
No, I would never visit there.
So
I know people that work at prisons, and it's I just hearing about a prison in general. I would
gives
never
me
work there.
chills.
But Alcatraz, no,
Alcatraz,
the craziest people.
It's a crazy island. There's a whole book they made us read in 5th grade. It was
5th grade.
What?
5th grade. It was washing shirts for Al Capone or something like that.
That's different.
I
sure.
cannot remember anything about it.
I personally think that it's just paranoia. Or maybe it is haunted, but in my opinion, I think it's just their paranoia. I'd be paranoid if I was working there and I'm like, oh, there's a story about this happening and where I'm working.
But I think it's genuinely haunted because it's Alcatraz. No one escaped from there. People are dying.
Which really gets into the afterlife and that's a whole thing in itself.
Thing.
Yes, for sure.
But
if you think that the craziness of these people, they would probably come back to haunt you.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I would if I was
James
someone he killed. Oh, I'm gonna haunt you.
Yeah.
You're done.
I can't believe he didn't get the death sentence.
Mm-mm.
Oh no,
he should have gotten a death sentence, in my opinion.
Yeah, but anyways, we will be looking into more murder mysteries this semester. So check us out next time on Brave Talk.